And Professor Jean Paysan could not leave the IRR in Nancy. So he's busy. So I'm going to introduce the rest of the presentations. So we're going to talk about what I said this morning, the number one public enemy, weight gain, and Professor François Genêt will talk about it. Well, you can see that weight is the number one public enemy of the polio person. I think I'm going to have the worst time of the day. But let's approach this with a lot of enthusiasm as usual. I cannot pull the curtains. We can't? Well, you've lost 30 seconds already from your time. So there will be some vitamin D deficiency on the left, but not on the right side of the room. All right, let's start. So to talk about obesity, we're going to put things into perspective and a few things that will help you understand why it is important to manage your weight, and it's just for mobility reasons. First thing, the life expectancy of people having motor disability keeps increasing in our societies. This is also a very good thing, that there is an improvement of the quality of life. And yet, people living with a disability, and this is data from the health regional agency in the Paris region, are gaining weight. So it means that this population has usually less revenues than the general public. And when you're less well included in a society, you're more likely than the rest of the population to have health issues, and you have less access than the rest of the population to different things. So when we talk about the public at large, when we talk about primary prevention, we all have that in mind. What is primary prevention in medicine? That is to avoid the emergence of diseases. So our Minister of Health in France is the Minister of Health and Prevention, and the French population has to do regular tests to avoid the occurrence of diseases. Then secondary prevention is to avoid development of your diseases once you have them, such as diabetes and others, and then avoid complications of the diseases. So for disabled people, there was no primary prevention because the life expectancy was so low that, in fact, the comorbidity factors, high blood pressure, obesity, and so on, had no impact on the life expectancy because people were dying at 60 years old. So there was secondary prevention through physical exercise, having more autonomy, having a specialized monitoring, and tertiary prevention to avoid complications because you already had a stroke and so you're paralyzed and so on. But now the aging of disabled people is putting forward this issue. That is, today I'm not going to talk about polio patients, but just disabled people. You can be old, obese, having high blood pressure, and having a stroke or a heart attack. So now the question is, how can we age well for this kind of population, and what over disability can we get if we don't control these factors? Then there is also another question, and we mentioned that, what access to healthcare. So in Garches, in a hospital, all patients coming in have to fill in a questionnaire. When was the last time you did a mammography? The last time you had a rubby? When did you have your prostate checked? When was the last time your blood pressure was checked? And you would be surprised to see how much no man's land we have. So people have their bladder checked when they are disabled because they know they can have urinary issues. And so there is a public health issue here. So let's talk about weight, because this is my topic today. But we all know this. Overweight can have a cardiovascular impact, respiratory issues, on sleep also. It changes mobility, walking. It can cause some pain because of the pressure it puts on joints. And then we know this today. You can take good care of your body only when you like it and when you pay attention to it. And when the overweight can be a first sign that you let go of certain things because you gave up, because you don't recognize yourself in this body. And so there is this extremely important psychological dimension. And so this is why we call that the public enemy, number one public enemy, and this has a strong impact on the quality of life and the health status or the quality of life of polio patients. And that explains a lot about PPS. So we have a department in our hospital, and each patient we try to see every 3 years, and we hospitalize them for a week to do this assessment. It's not mandatory, but we want to monitor our patients regularly on their different pathologies, on prevention, on the joints, the muscular test, respiratory function, diet, surgery, infiltrations, and everything. And we also focus on the social issues, because even if you're the best integrated person in disability population, there are still issues. And so this assessment allows us to see how the weight evolution is taking place for our population. We had the numbers last week. We have 200 patients in this unit just to do an assessment for polio patients. So 600 patients total, 200 per year. So generally speaking, the weight impact on disability is the same as for the general public, but for polio people, there's a difficulty with equipment, with the wheelchair, impact on the muscles, on the joints. So that's we call the over disability. It's more difficult to move. It's more difficult to bear the equipment. The equipment has to be redone. We have to do the prints, the test, the trial, and so on. So it has an impact on the aging of the person living with a disability. And some of you might have felt this, that there is a unit, there is one in Berg that is called Overweight and Disability. This is a unit that is not private, it's public, from public hospitals, and they work, well, this is quite a long stay for polio patients to help them lose weight. So it's a 3-month stay, but it's reimbursed by the Social Security. So it does exist in our country. So for the polio patient, in France, we know this. It is an aging population. We have some modification in the way of life. They retire, they walk less. And you know, you don't realize when you go to work how much exercise you get. And when you stop working, you don't exercise as much, even if you like to be in your garden. So you walk less. Sometimes there's pain, there's arthrosis. It's difficult to practical exercise. the recurvatum always helped us to stand up, and now it's 20 degrees and it begins to hurt and it prevents you from walking in good conditions. And there's the weakness, the muscular fatigue, the muscles are aging, so they're less strong. It's the same for all, but for you, it has an impact on your daily life and the importance of the lifters. So that arrives at that time, and we paid a tribute to Olivier this morning. He said a polio who gains 500 grams could stop walking. And I've seen polio patients stopping to walk because, if you gain 1 kilo in the abdomen, for your ankle, it's not 1, it's 10. So you really have to pay attention to your weight. So this is the worst message we can pass on to your population. I admit it, but let's try to measure it. What is... how can we see whether this person is obese or not? Well, you can check your BMI. And this is not adapted for the polio patients because there is the weight. And for someone who has some paralysis, there is the muscles are not as strong. And the weight is not a good criterion because it's not representative of the spread of the muscular mass on which was calculated for the public at large. So the idea is the change. How much did you weigh when you were 25 years old? And every time you say, oh, and I do the same, So, but there's less impact for me than for you, unfortunately. So how do we measure this? Well, you need to know how much your calorie intake and your calorie expenditure. So there are several ways of calculating this. There is the energy use at rest and how you calculate this energy amount. It's based on a formula, and this is the Harris-Benedict Black-Friedrichs and the WHO. Here you have the Harris and Benedict formula, and they consider the weight. So these equations that are still used by the dietitians, standard dietitians, well, they are not adapted to people with muscular paralysis. So they tend to be overestimated. So we did research published last year in a rehab journal where we focused on 298 patients for whom that were in our database between 2014 and 2017. They were the first patients. 41 of them had seen their energy consumption at rest. So we wondered whether there was a link with other criteria of the body. So I went a bit fast, but we realized that, of course, the energy consumption at rest depends on the weight. It's linked to the BMI, and it's also linked to all those formulas. So the energy use at rest is linked to these formulas, but the problem is the coefficient we need to use, because when we use these formulas, are we measuring the same thing as with an instrumental measurement of the energy use? So we tried all these formulas and we compared them one after the other with the results of the energy consumption at rest. If you're interested, I can give you this slide. So the measurement of the energy consumption at rest is linked to the formula, but it overestimates the values, and so it has a negative impact on the dietitian's advice. So the equation make you look leaner than you are. So when you have an equation that says you are okay, it means that you're slightly overweight. And when it says overweight, you're heavier than that, because the meager mass, the lean mass, is heavier. So we have correction factors that we have introduced, and you will see that the real dietitian assessment will depend on this measurement. So when we see someone who is overweight, we ask the weight, the size, the weight changes over time, the way of life, the physical exercise. We don't just take the weight data, I'm fat or I'm not. No, there are many different factors that come into play. So we do the basic investigation, we assess the habits, consumption, the relationship to food, the knowledge of the food ingredients, some beliefs, screening of situation that triggers some loss of control, and the motivation of the patient. So we calculate the indirect calorimetry, and we also look at the distribution of the mass. Where is the fat? Where is the lean mass? And here we have two tools that allow us to do this. That's the impedance metric. We can do this on the arms, on the legs, on the abdomen to assess the distribution of the fat in the body. And then we have bone densitometry, as you heard before, to measure the whether you have osteoporosis or not. And so there are optional modules that allow you with this to calculate the mass content in your body. So this will help our dietitians who are specialized to help you to lose weight. So it's more complicated than to lose weight than for the regular population. So how do you use your energy over 24 hours? There is the basic metabolism and the energy you use when you are sitting or when you're sleeping. There is the energy you use for physical exercise and the thermal effect of the food. That's what you use in terms of energy over 24 hours. So the energy you use at rest is 70% of the energy you use in 24 hours. This is what you use when you do nothing, because you have to keep the body, your organs have to function, and this energy use is linked to the muscular metabolism, how you keep your body alive when you are at rest. And then there is the energy use linked to physical activity. If you have a regular physical activity, it's no more than 20%. To make sports lose weight, you must be a high-level athlete. It doesn't mean that sports is not good for you to lose weight, but it means that you should not consider that it's everything. And if you practice sport, you strengthen your muscles, you increase your muscular mass, and so you increase your energy consumption at rest indirectly. Of course, if you do a lot of activity, you're going to increase your 15 to 20% to 30 or 40%, but it's not just physiotherapists, half an hour twice a week. And the thermal effect of food is about 10%. Of course, there are different variants between men, women, your age, whether you have diseases, whether you have arthrosis. All of this has an impact on your metabolism. So this is quite general, but this is just to help you to see how we think. So if we go back to the equation, 70% of energy used at rest, 15% for the activity, and the food 15%. So that's someone who's not paralyzed, who has no sequelas. So if at rest you use 1,500 kilocalories, that's basically 2,000 kilocalories per day. If your energy use at rest when you're a polio patient is around 800. So if we add that you do a bit less physical activity and the food effect is the same, so your metabolism is 1,200 kilocalories a day. And here I'm going to answer the question that many polio patients say, I'm on a diet and I don't lose weight. Why? So the first diet is 1,400 kilocalories. So when you are below 1,400 kilocalories, that's when you need to take supplements. So it's very difficult to lose weight when you are disabled. So don't feel guilty. It's not your fault. Now, how does it work? How do we measure the indirect calorimetry? Well, you know, you're on a bed and you're breathing, in some kind of a sarcophagus. So it's just the breathing in and out that allows us to measure this, the gas that you produce. So we get this person who's 50 years old, 1 meter 78, 91 kilos. So the theoretical energy consumption without any physical problem is 1,800 kilocalories per 24 hours. So that's the theory without polio. Now, when we measure it, this is what we get, 895 kilocalories. So the energy use at rest is 50% less than the theory. So you can see how difficult it is. So we still need to manage the diet. So how does it work? Well, we have some protocols. This is managed by multidisciplinary teams. This is not something you can do on your own at home, ladies and gentlemen. So managing the diet should help you solve problems. The goal is, how do you do it? I'm sure that many people here who are overweight don't eat much or don't eat well. It's just that it's just a little too much compared to everything else. So the management should be individualized depending on the body mass, and we need to identify the minimum quantitative calorie intake. I've seen patients taking huge risks. You don't stop eating altogether. So you must have enough proteins. There are some substitutes. We can work on that. Therapy education. This is something you learn, and you should not forget the quality of life, because eating is very nice in life. And so there are times when you can have a little bit more. If you're slightly overweight because it's nice to eat, you should not always be schizophrenic, and one day I'm happy, one day I'm not happy. So this is very, very important. So the menu is built by the patient based on knowledge he has acquired. So we go to people's home to see how they eat at home. We modified recipes. We have a list of ingredients to better fill the fridge. We have a food book, notebook, and you can lose control, because making efforts is not always easy. And then there is monitoring. So even if this is not profitable, we have a dietitian consultation. We have a patient who come to consultation. The psychologist is also very important. So here you have a general approach about weight. For you, for us, for everyone, so that you understand that when you come to see us in a consultation, that it should not be a topic that where you feel guilty. Some of you say, "Oh, I don't understand because I'm not eating. I can't lose weight." It's just the way it is, and we'll find solution. And there are solutions to walk better, there are solutions to have physical exercise, and there are solutions to eat better, and there are solutions to be supported, but because of your status, in a specific way. Thank you very much.
Des questions?
Any questions?
From the UK, on the 1,400 calorie diet,
Well,
is it at all possible for the polio person, for the 1,400 calorie diet, is it possible for the polio person to work out something themselves? Because that seems to me to be a very, very small calorie intake in ordinary balances of food, you know, like potatoes, vegetables, and chicken or something with sauce. It's a difficult thing to actually get the right protein levels and vitamins, I'd have thought.
un casque, s'il vous plaît. Il a pris le casque. Est-ce que vous pouvez répéter la question? Can you repeat the question?
On a 1,400 calorie diet, can a polio person themselves work out a good eating plan that gives them proper nutrition, protein and vitamins? Is there any chance of that?
Okay, I think I have understood. I think you asked me because it's very difficult to make a 1,400 kilocalories regimen at home without any help. That's it. Okay, that's why in our department we are following all our patients during outpatient consultation with specific dietitian. I don't know how to say that. And every month they come and they are working of what you have eaten, what you are going to eat, what is the menu, how you do that. And after that, the dietitian goes to the house of the patient, working with her of how you make, how you fill your fridge, how you make all that stuff. It's a very close, follow-up of all these patients. Obviously, we can do that for all our 50,000 poliomyelitis survivors in France, obviously. But and the other thing, we have a specific hospital in France, close to the north, which has a big department specific for this. It has about 80 beds for handicap and obesity. And these people are going for 3 months. Total free for them because it's for, the national, insurance who is going to pay for them, for the national insurance. And they are going to stay there for 3 months. So to learn how to cooking, how to eat, and making all the follow-up, and they practice a lot of physical activity. So if they can do some motorbike, they can go on the beach, walking, practicing a lot of things, and just to cut, the circle, which is a negative circle of, I'm not, it's very discouraging. I'm not able to maintain, this effort, and during these 3 months, they don't lose more than maybe 4 or 5 kilos. It's not, a huge, decrease of your weight. But it's a way to learn that it will be a long course, and you have to be trained to learn how to make every day in your house, how to make, your food. But obviously, less than 1,400 calories, you have some pills you have to take because it's a currency regimen, when you are under 1,400. And we have a very specific team for that because we think as the primary prevention for poliomyelitis people, that is one of the main points we have to work on. Okay? That was the question, okay? Thank you.
Une petite dernière question.
Maybe one last question. There's many of us who cannot go to Garches Hospital in the south of France. So when you're followed by the traditional dietitian, could they get access to a specific document for our pathology? The idea is to do an exchange of experience, and this is how we based our department on this issue. Many departments can do this, what we do in Garches, but it's true that we particularly focus on this, and this is something that we need also to adopt throughout the country. Of course, dietitians are trained to this. There are private dietitians who call our dietitian and say that there are many people, maybe there are some people here. Jean has arrived. Maybe here we have some people who are monitored specifically like this, but until recently, it was not an issue of public health because, the primary risk factors were not something we were looking at. Now we do. So this is, first we need to understand why people cannot lose weight, and then we need to understand what we need to build around this to make it successful. Afterwards, there will be some training because you cannot just do this in one site, a pilot site or 2 or 3 sites in France, but we need to make sure that each dietitian being trained now knows about this, and somehow they know this, they've been trained to this, but what is a polio patient? They don't know. So again, it's the same issue. but we need to involve the polio patient into this diet. It's not 1,600 calories for the polio patient, but when we see your dietitian, I think you don't need one, but if one day you see your dietitian, you will tell them, oh, you know, I have a muscular mass that has decreased. I think we need to go below than for my sister who's not a polio patient. So this is how we can do it. And you know what they do in Berg at this specific hospital is for people who are very much overweight, who have been discouraged.
A comment on my off mic.
Former des gens pour faire, parce que les médecins MPR, c'est sûr que Garches, c'est le.
So, of course, going to Garches would be the perfect place. We see that we have many presentators coming from there. But to generalize this process, it's a bit more complex in other regions, in other territories. So how do we use this? Because we cannot do everything for everyone. We cannot replace the GPs, for example. But we have to give more time to train other people, because we are not enough. We need other people to help us. So our responsibility as a reference structure is, of course, to cure, but also to train other people, to develop the gradation in the care, but also train the people that are facing difficulties at the local level. For the dietitians, the GPs, the teams, they need to be able to get access to some resources, and this requires organizations at the department level. I didn't know I was the moderator of this meeting. I'm sorry, but Laurent did a great job anyway. But yeah, there's this question of knowing how we can work better together to multiply the forces. Yes, and of course the prevention, the primary prevention, is a new topic. It's really something new. It was not done for disabled people. It's really something that is appearing at the political level right now, and we are pushing for it because we are realizing that it's not about only doing a hip replacement when you have arthritis. We want to make you lose weight before that, of course. Thank you, François.